Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, let me take a moment to talk to you about something we all wrestle with control. You see, we spend so much of our time trying to hold on to everything our plans, our pain. But sometimes what we really need to do is let go and trust God. Life has a way of throwing punches. You might feel like you're backed into a corner, like you've got no options, no way out. But hear me when I say this, you don't have to fight every battle on your own. Sometimes you've got to step back, release your grip, and put it all in the hands of the one who created you. Now, letting go, it's not easy. It takes faith. And faith? Oh, that's not just some nice word you hear in church on Sunday. Faith is action. Faith is saying, God, I don't understand why this is happening, but I trust you. I can't see the path ahead, but I trust you. I don't know how I'm going to make it through, but I trust you. Let me tell you something about trust. Trusting God doesn't mean the road will always be smooth. No. It means even when the storms come, you know who's in the boat with you. It means even when the night feels darkest, you know who's guiding you toward the light. I've learned in my life that when I hold on too tight to my own plans, I miss out on the plans He has for me. And His plans, they're bigger, better, and more beautiful than anything I could ever imagine. So why wouldn't I trust Him? Why wouldn't I surrender my fears, my doubts, my worries to Him? You see, God didn't bring you this far to leave you. He didn't place those dreams in your heart to let them die. But sometimes you've got to step aside and let Him do His work. Let Him open the doors you've been trying to kick down. Let Him close the ones you're not meant to walk through. So tonight I'm asking you to loosen your grip. Let go of the things that are weighing you down. Give your battles to the one who's never lost a war. And when you do, watch what happens. Watch how peace replaces your panic. Watch how joy pushes out your fear. Watch how God shows up and shows out in your life. Because He will. Oh, He will. But only if you let Him. Only if you trust Him. Only if you believe that His way is better than yours. So let go, my friends. Trust God. And let Him take you to places you've never dreamed of. Thank you, and God bless you. Let me talk to you about something that touches every one of us. Something we wrestle with in our hearts and our minds, the struggle to let go and trust God. It's not a small thing, it's one of the most difficult yet powerful lessons we can learn in this life. The truth is, we spend so much time trying to control everything. We grip tightly onto our plans, our dreams, our relationships, our problems, and even our pain. We cling to the belief that if we just hold on a little harder, push a little more, or plan a little better, we can make everything turn out the way we want. But deep down, we know that's not how it works. Life doesn't go according to our plans, and it never will. Life has a way of humbling us, of reminding us that we're not in control. It throws curveball situations we never saw coming, problems we don't know how to solve, losses we don't know how to endure. And when we're in the middle of that storm, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, to feel like we're carrying a weight that's too heavy to bear. But let me tell you this, you don't have to carry that weight alone. You were never meant to. There is a God who loves you, who sees you, and who wants to take that burden from you. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean you stop caring or stop trying. What it means is that you stop trying to do it all in your own strength. It means you recognize your limitations and surrender them to a God who has no limits. It means you take a step back and say, God, I can't do this on my own. I need you. I trust you. That's what letting go looks like. And that's where true freedom begins. Faith is at the heart of letting go. Faith isn't just a word or an idea, it's an action. It's a decision you make every single day to trust God, even when you don't understand what's happening in your life. It's saying, God, I don't know why this is happening, but I believe you have a plan. I believe you're working all things together for my good, even if I can't see it right now. Trusting God doesn't mean the road will always be easy. Let me be clear about that. Life is not without challenges, pain, or heartache. But trusting God means that even when the storms come, you can find peace knowing He's in control. It means that even when you're walking through the darkest valley, you can have hope because you know He's walking beside you. It means you can face the unknown with confidence because you know the one who holds the future in His hands. I've learned in my own life that when I try to hold on too tightly to my own plans, I end up missing out on the plans God has for me. And His plans, they're always better than mine. Always. He sees what I can't see. He knows what I don't know. And He loves me enough to lead me in the right direction, even if it's not the direction I thought I wanted to go. But here's the thing, trusting God requires surrender. It requires letting go of our pride, our fears, our doubts, and our need to be in control. And that's not easy. It goes against everything in our human nature. We want to fix things, to solve problems, to make things happen. But sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is let go and let God. When you let go, you're not giving up control. You're giving it to the one who is infinitely wiser, stronger, and more loving than you could ever be. You're placing your trust in the God who created the universe, who spoke the stars into existence, and who knows every hair on your head. If He can do all of that, don't you think He can handle whatever you're going through? God didn't bring you this far to leave you. He didn't place those dreams in your heart to let them die. But sometimes the journey to fulfilling those dreams looks different from what we imagined. Sometimes the road is longer, the obstacles are bigger, and the challenges are harder than we expected. But that's where faith comes in. That's where trust is built. Trusting God doesn't mean you won't face difficulties. It means that when you do, you can rest in the assurance that you're not alone. It means you can let go of the need to figure everything out and instead lean on Him for guidance, strength, and peace. It means you can stop striving and start trusting. I want you to think about the things you're holding on to right now. Maybe it's a relationship that's causing you pain. Maybe it's a dream that hasn't come to fruition. Maybe it's a fear that's keeping you up at night. Whatever it is, I want to encourage you to loosen your grip, to take that burden, that worry, that fear, and place it in God's hands. When you let go, you create space for God to work in your life. You open the door for His blessings, His guidance, and His peace. You allow Him to do what only He can do. And let me tell you, when you let God take the lead, amazing things happen. He opens doors you never thought could be open. He closes doors that weren't meant for you. He brings people, opportunities, and blessings into your life in ways you never could have imagined. But it all starts with trust. Trusting God means believing that His plan is better than yours, even when it doesn't make sense. It means believing that He's working all things together for your good, even when you can't see it. It means believing that He loves you, that He's for you, and that He's with you every step of the way. So how do you let go and trust God? It starts with prayer. Prayer is your lifeline, your connection to God. It's where you pour out your heart, your fears, your doubts, and your dreams. It's where you surrender everything to Him and ask for His guidance and peace. It also requires faith in action. Faith isn't passive, it's active. It's stepping out in obedience even when you're scared. It's taking that leap of faith even when you don't know where you'll land. It's trusting that God will catch you, that He'll provide for you, and that He'll lead you in the right direction. And finally, it requires patience. Trusting God means waiting on His timing, not yours. It means believing that His delays are not His denials. It means trusting that He's working behind the scenes, even when you can't see it. Letting go and trusting God is not a one-time decision. It's a daily choice. It's a journey, and it's not always easy. But it's worth it. Because when you let go and trust God, you experience a peace that surpasses all understanding. You experience a joy that isn't dependent on your circumstances. And you experience the fullness of life that comes from walking in step with Him. So today I want to challenge you to take that step, to let go of whatever you're holding on to and place it in God's hands, to trust Him with your dreams, your fears, your relationships, and your future, and to watch how He works in your life in ways you never thought possible. Because He will, oh, He will, but only if you let Him. Only if you trust Him, only if you believe that His way is better than yours. So let go, trust God, and watch Him do the impossible. Life is a journey filled with challenges, twists, and turns. We wake up each day with a plan, an idea of how things should go, only to find that life often has a way of unfolding differently than we imagine. And in those moments, we're reminded of a truth that can be hard to accept: we're not in control. We want to believe we have everything figured out, that we can manage our lives, navigate our problems, and steer our futures. But life's unpredictability reminds us time and again that true peace and fulfillment don't come from controlling everything, they come from learning to let go and trust God. Letting go isn't easy. It challenges everything in our nature. We want to hold tightly to the things we care about, the relationships we treasure, the dreams we've nurtured, and the outcomes we hope for. We convince ourselves that if we just work harder or think smarter, we can make everything go our way. But the truth is, the tighter we hold on, the more we struggle, and the more we feel weighed down by the burdens we're not meant to carry. Letting go is not about giving up or abandoning our responsibilities. It's about surrendering our illusion of control and placing our trust in the one who truly holds everything together. Trusting God is a profound act of faith. It requires us to believe in something greater than ourselves, something we cannot always see or fully understand. It means acknowledging that our understanding is limited while God's wisdom is infinite. It's about believing that even when our plans fall apart, God's plans are still good. Trusting God doesn't come naturally. It's a choice we make, sometimes moment by moment, especially when life feels uncertain or overwhelming. When life gets difficult, our instinct is often to cling tighter, to try to fix things ourselves. But that's where we get it wrong. God doesn't call us to solve all our problems or carry all our burdens. He calls us to bring them to Him. In Matthew 11:28-30, Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." These words are an invitation to release what weighs us down and trust God to carry us through. Letting go doesn't mean we stop caring or stop working toward our goals. It means we stop trying to control the outcomes. It means we release our fear of failure, our anxiety about the future, and our need to have all the answers. It means we acknowledge that while we have a role to play, the ultimate outcome is in God's hands. And that's a good thing, because His plans are far greater than anything we could ever imagine. God's plans for us are often different from our own, and that can be hard to accept. We may have a vision for how our lives should look, but God sees the bigger picture. He knows what we need, not just what we want. Sometimes that means He closes doors we were desperate to walk through, or allows us to go through challenges that refine and strengthen us. In the moment, these experiences can feel confusing, even painful. But when we trust God, we can rest in the assurance that He is working all things together for our good, even when we don't understand how. Trusting God doesn't mean life will be free of difficulties. It doesn't mean we won't face heartbreak, loss, or disappointment. What it does mean is that we can face those challenges with a sense of peace and hope, knowing we're not alone. God is with us in every season, every struggle, and every triumph. He is our constant, our anchor, and our guide. Faith plays a crucial role in letting go and trusting God. Faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about believing even when we don't. It's about stepping out in obedience even when we're unsure of the outcome. It's about saying, "God, I don't understand what you're doing, but I trust you. I don't know where this path is leading, but I know you're leading me." Faith is active. It requires us to move forward, to take steps even when we feel uncertain. It's easy to trust God when everything is going well, but true faith is tested in the storms of life. It's in those moments of uncertainty and fear that we have the opportunity to deepen our trust in God. And as we do, we discover that He is faithful, that He is good, and that He is worthy of our trust. Letting go is not a one-time decision, it's a daily practice. Every day we're faced with situations that challenge our faith and test our trust. Every day we have to choose to surrender our fears, our worries, and our plans to God. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. because when we let go, we make room for God to move in our lives in ways we never could have imagined. When we let go, we experience freedom, the freedom to stop striving and start resting in God's love and provision, the freedom to live fully in the present without being weighed down by fear of the future or regret over the past, the freedom to embrace the life God has for us, even if it looks different from what we envisioned. Letting go and trusting God doesn't mean we'll never face challenges again, but it does mean we can face them with confidence, knowing that God is with us and for us. It means we can walk through the valleys with hope because we know God is guiding us to higher ground. It means we can experience peace even in the midst of the storm because we know the one who calms the wind and the waves. As we learn to let go and trust God, we begin to see His faithfulness in new and profound ways. We see how He provides for us, how He protects us, and how He works all things together for our good. We see how He uses even our struggles to shape us, to grow us, and to draw us closer to Him. And we see how His plans for us are always better than anything we could have planned for ourselves. Letting go and trusting God is a journey, not a destination. It's something we'll continue to learn and grow in throughout our lives. But the more we practice it, the more we experience the peace, joy, and freedom that come from living a life surrendered to Him. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it, because when we let go and trust God, we find that He is enough, more than enough for whatever we face. And that is a truth we can hold on to no matter what life brings. Life is a journey that challenges us to confront the unexpected and navigate the unpredictable. Each day, we wake up with plans, with visions of how things should go, only to encounter detours that remind us we are not in control. These moments of disruption can leave us feeling frustrated, uncertain, and overwhelmed. But there's a profound truth woven into the fabric of these experiences: real peace, real freedom, and real fulfillment come not from holding on too tightly to our plans, but from learning to let go and trust God. Letting go is one of the hardest lessons to learn. It feels counterintuitive to release the grip we have on the things that matter most to us: our dreams, our relationships, our goals, and even our pain. Society tells us to push harder, fight for control, and do whatever it takes to shape our lives the way we want them to be. But the harder we try to control everything, the more we feel weighed down by the burden of it all. We were never meant to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. That's why learning to let go and trust God is so transformative. Trusting God begins with acknowledging a simple yet powerful truth: we are not in control, but He is. And that's a good thing. God sees what we cannot see. He knows what we do not know. His plans are higher, His wisdom greater, and His love deeper than anything we can comprehend. When we place our trust in Him, we're not giving up. We're choosing to rely on the one who is infinitely capable of leading us through every storm, every valley, and every challenge life throws our way. The act of letting go is not about abandoning responsibility or giving up on our dreams. It's about surrendering the illusion of control. It's about saying, God, I trust You to handle what I cannot. I trust You with my future, my fears, and my struggles. This kind of trust requires faith, a faith that isn't passive but active. Faith compels us to step out even when we don't know where the road will lead. It asks us to believe in God's goodness even when we can't see the evidence of it in the moment. Life often places us in situations where our faith is tested. It's easy to trust God when things are going well, when our plans are unfolding as expected, and when the path ahead is clear. But it's in the difficult moments when we face uncertainty, loss, or disappointment that our trust is truly refined. It's in these moments that we are called to let go of our need for answers and instead lean on the one who holds all things together. Letting go means releasing the fears that keep us up at night. It means giving God the anxieties we carry about the future. It means loosening our grip on the outcomes we so desperately want and trusting that God's plan for us is better than anything we could imagine. That doesn't mean the journey will always make sense to us. Sometimes God's ways are mysterious. We may not understand why certain doors close or why we have to walk through painful seasons. But trusting God means believing that He is always working for our good, even when we can't see how. When we trust God, we find peace, a peace that surpasses understanding. This peace doesn't come from the absence of problems, but from the presence of God in the midst of them. It's the peace of knowing that we don't have to have all the answers because we serve a God who does. It's the peace of knowing that even when life feels chaotic, God is in control. He is our anchor in the storm, our refuge in times of trouble. Faith is not just a feeling, it's a decision. It's a choice we make every day to believe in God's promises, even when our circumstances seem to contradict them. It's a choice to focus on who God is: faithful, loving, and sovereign, rather than on the things that cause us to worry. And as we choose to trust Him, we find that He is faithful to guide us, to sustain us, and to lead us into the life He has prepared for us. Trusting God doesn't mean we won't face difficulties. Life is full of challenges, and sometimes those challenges stretch us in ways we never anticipated. But it's through these experiences that our trust in God is strengthened. Each time we choose to let go of our fears and surrender them to God, we take another step closer to the freedom He offers. Each time we place our trust in Him, we grow in our faith and discover just how dependable He is. Letting go and trusting God also means recognizing that His timing is perfect. We live in a world that values instant results, but God's timeline often looks different from ours. Sometimes we have to wait. Waiting can be one of the hardest aspects of trusting God because it requires patience and perseverance, but the waiting is never wasted. God uses those seasons to prepare us, to grow us, and to draw us closer to Him. One of the most freeing aspects of letting go is that it allows us to stop striving. When we release our need to control every detail of our lives, we open ourselves up to receive the blessings God has for us. We stop trying to force doors open and instead trust God to open the ones we're meant to walk through. We stop clinging to the things that aren't good for us and trust God to replace them with something better. God's plans for us are always good. They may not always look the way we expect them to, but they are always for our benefit. Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us of this truth: "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." This verse is a powerful reminder that God's heart is for us. He wants us to live in the fullness of His love, peace, and purpose. Life is an intricate tapestry of experiences filled with twists, turns, and unexpected challenges. Each day we embark on our journey with plans and dreams, believing we know how the road ahead will unfold. We strive to control every aspect of our lives, thinking that with enough effort we can shape our destiny exactly as we envision. But life has a way of humbling us, reminding us that no matter how tightly we hold on, some things are simply beyond our control. It is in these moments of uncertainty and frustration that we are faced with an invitation, a call to let go and trust God. This act of surrender is not a sign of weakness, but a profound declaration of faith. Letting go is one of the most challenging lessons we can learn. It is difficult to release our grip on the things we care about: our relationships, careers, dreams, and even our pain. Society often tells us that control equals power, that the harder we push and the more we strategize, the closer we'll get to the life we want. But this illusion of control is just that, an illusion. The truth is, the more we cling, the more we feel the weight of the world pressing down on us. Letting go does not mean we stop caring or that we abandon our responsibilities. It means surrendering the need to control every outcome and trusting that God's plan is greater than anything we could ever imagine. Trusting God is not an easy task. It requires us to step out of our comfort zones and place our faith in something greater than ourselves. It means acknowledging that our understanding is limited, while God's wisdom is infinite. It means believing in His promises, even when our circumstances seem to contradict them. Trusting God is an act of courage, a choice to believe that He is working all things together for our good, even when we can't see how. It is about relinquishing our fears and anxieties and allowing God to take the lead. In Matthew 11:28-30, Jesus extends a powerful invitation: "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." These words are a reminder that we were never meant to carry the weight of our struggles alone. God invites us to lay down our burdens at His feet, to trust Him with the things that weigh us down, and to find rest in His presence. One of the reasons letting go is so difficult is that it challenges our desire for control. We often believe that if we just try hard enough, we can make everything go our way, but control is a heavy burden to bear. It places the responsibility for every outcome squarely on our shoulders, leaving us exhausted and overwhelmed. Letting go is about recognizing that while we have a role to play, the ultimate outcome is in God's hands. And that is a good thing because His plans for us are far greater than anything we could envision for ourselves. God's plans are often different from our own, and that can be hard to accept. We may have a vision for how our lives should look, but God sees the bigger picture. He knows what we need, not just what we want. Sometimes that means He closes doors we desperately wanted to walk through or allows us to walk through challenges that refine and strengthen us. In the moment, these experiences can be confusing and painful. But when we trust God, we can find peace in knowing that He is always working for our good. Trusting God doesn't mean that life will be free of difficulties. In fact, challenges are often the very things that deepen our faith. When we face uncertainty, loss, or disappointment, we have the opportunity to lean on God in ways we never have before. These moments of struggle remind us of our dependence on Him and draw us closer to His heart. They teach us to let go of our pride, our fear, and our need for control, and to place our trust in the one who holds all things together. Faith is an essential part of trusting God. Faith is not about having all the answers, it's about believing even when we don't. It's about stepping out in obedience even when we can't see the outcome. It's about saying, God, I don't understand what you're doing, but I trust you. I don't know where this path is leading, but I know you're leading me. Faith is active. It requires us to take steps forward even when we feel uncertain. It's easy to trust God when everything is going well, but true faith is tested in the storms of life. When we let go and trust God, we experience a freedom that cannot be found anywhere else. We are no longer weighed down by the pressure to have it all figured out. We can release our fears about the future and our regrets about the past, and we can embrace the present with open hearts. Letting go allows us to rest in God's love and provision, knowing that He is in control and that His plans for us are good. One of the most beautiful aspects of letting go is that it opens the door for God to work in our lives in ways we never could have imagined. When we release our grip on the things we've been clinging to, we make room for God to move. We allow Him to replace our plans with His, to open doors we never knew existed, and to lead us into a life that is richer and fuller than anything we could have dreamed of on our own. Letting go and trusting God is not a one-time decision, it's a daily practice. Every day we are faced with situations that challenge our faith and test our trust. Every day we have to choose to surrender our fears, our worries, and our plans to God. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. Because when we let go, we discover a peace that surpasses all understanding, a peace that comes from knowing we are held by the one who loves us more than we can comprehend. As we learn to let go and trust God, we begin to see His faithfulness in new and profound ways. We see how He provides for us even in the smallest details. We see how He protects us even when we don't realize it. And we see how He uses even our struggles and failures to shape us into the people He created us to be. God is always at work, even when we can't see it. And as we trust Him, we begin to see glimpses of His goodness and grace in every area of our lives. God's timing is another important aspect of trusting Him. We live in a world that values instant gratification, but God's timeline often looks different from ours. Sometimes we have to wait. Waiting can be one of the hardest parts of trusting God because it requires patience and perseverance. But the waiting is never wasted. God uses those seasons to prepare us, to grow us, and to draw us closer to Him. And when the time is right, He fulfills His promises in ways that exceed our expectations. When we trust God, we are free to live fully in the present. We don't have to be consumed by worry about the future or regret about the past. We can embrace the life God has given us today with all its beauty and imperfection. We can find joy in the journey, knowing that God is with us every step of the way, and we can rest in the assurance that no matter what lies ahead, God is already there preparing the way for us. Letting go and trusting God is a journey, not a destination. It's something we'll continue to learn and grow in throughout our lives. But the more we practice it, the more we experience the peace, joy, and freedom that come from living a life surrendered to Him. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. Because when we let go and trust God, we find that He is enough, more than enough for whatever we face. And in that truth, we find the strength, hope, and courage to keep moving forward. And so, as we stand on this journey called life, we are reminded that our greatest strength is not in our ability to control, but in our willingness to surrender. Letting go and trusting God is not about giving up, it's about stepping into something greater. It's about allowing the one who created us, who knows us intimately, and who loves us unconditionally to lead the way. In His hands, our burdens become lighter, our fears lose their grip, and our hearts find rest. When we trust God, we are not walking alone. He is with us in every valley, every storm, and every moment of joy. He goes before us, walks beside us, and carries us when we cannot carry ourselves. So today and every day, let us make the choice to let go of the things that weigh us down and trust in the one who holds the universe in his hands. Because in trusting him, we discover the life we were always meant to live, a life of peace, purpose, and unshakable hope. And so I'll leave you with this: life isn't always going to make sense. There will be twists and turns, storms and struggles, but through it all, there's a peace waiting for you, a peace that comes when you stop trying to figure it all out on your own and place your trust in God. Letting go doesn't mean giving up, it means letting God take over. It means stepping aside so he can step in, trusting that his plans are greater than anything you could ever imagine. So today, let go of the fear, the worry, the need to control, and trust him completely. Because when you do, you'll find a freedom and strength that can only come from walking hand in hand with the one who loves you more than you can ever comprehend. Trust him and watch what he can do. Let me share with you a truth that has transformed the lives of countless people. A truth so simple yet so profound: God is trustworthy. In a world that is constantly shifting, where nothing feels certain and where change is often the only constant, God remains the same. He is unchanging in his love, unwavering in his promises, and unmatched in his ability to guide us through life's most uncertain moments. Trusting him is not just an act of faith, it is an invitation to step into a life of freedom, peace, and fulfillment. When we talk about letting go and trusting God, it's important to recognize that this is not about surrendering to failure or resigning ourselves to a life without direction. It's quite the opposite. Letting go means releasing the things that are beyond our control and entrusting them to the one who holds the universe in his hands. It means realizing that we don't have to bear the weight of every decision, every outcome, and every struggle alone. God's shoulders are far broader than ours, and his strength is more than sufficient to carry what we cannot. The journey of letting go and trusting God starts with a decision. It's a choice to say, I don't have all the answers, but I believe in the one who does. It's a choice to believe that no matter how uncertain the road ahead might seem, God has a plan, a good and perfect plan for your life. Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us of this: for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Those words are not just a promise, they are an anchor for our souls in times of doubt and fear. But let's be honest, trusting God is not always easy. It's one thing to say we trust him when life is going well, when the bills are paid, relationships are thriving, and the future looks bright. But what about when the storms come? What about when the doors close, when the answers don't come, or when the path ahead feels dark and uncertain? These are the moments that test the depth of our trust. And yet, it is in these very moments that God invites us to draw closer to him. Trusting God in the storms of life requires us to relinquish our need for control. It's natural to want to fix things, to solve problems, and to find solutions as quickly as possible. But sometimes the greatest act of faith is to simply let go and say, God, I can't do this on my own. I need you. It's in that surrender that we find strength, not in ourselves, but in him. The Apostle Paul understood this when he wrote in 2 Corinthians 12:9, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. God's power is made perfect in our weakness because it is in those moments of surrender that his glory shines the brightest. When we let go of our pride, our fear, and our need for control, we make room for God to work in ways that far exceed our expectations. We begin to see his hand at work in the details of our lives, guiding us, providing for us, and opening doors that we never could have opened on our own. Letting go and trusting God also means embracing the unknown. Life is full of uncertainties, and as much as we'd like to have a roadmap for every decision in every season, that's not how faith works. Faith is about stepping out even when we don't know where the road will lead. It's about trusting that God will provide light for the next step, even if we can't see the entire path. As Proverbs 3:5-6 reminds us, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. But trusting God isn't just about what we let go of, it's about what we hold on to. We hold on to his promises, his character, and his faithfulness. We hold on to the truth that he is good, even when life feels anything but. We hold on to the assurance that He is working all things together for our good, even when we can't see how. And we hold on to the hope that His plans for us are greater than anything we could ever imagine. Think about the story of Joseph in the Bible. Sold into slavery by his brothers, falsely accused and thrown into prison, Joseph's life was filled with trials and setbacks. But through it all, he trusted God. He held on to the belief that God was with him, even in the darkest moments. And in the end, God's plan for Joseph's life was revealed in a way that brought restoration, redemption, and blessing not only to Joseph, but to an entire nation. What would have happened if Joseph had let bitterness, fear, or doubt consume him? Instead, he chose to trust God, and his story reminds us that no matter how difficult our circumstances may be, God is always at work. Letting go and trusting God also requires patience. We live in a world that values instant results, but God's timeline often looks different from ours. There will be seasons of waiting, times when it feels like nothing is happening and when we're tempted to take matters into our own hands. But the waiting is never wasted. God uses these seasons to refine us, to grow our character, and to prepare us for what's ahead. Isaiah 40:31 says, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint." In the waiting, we learn to depend on God in deeper ways. We learn to trust His timing and to believe that His delays are not denials. We learn to rest in His presence and to find joy in the journey, even when we don't yet see the destination. And as we wait, we are reminded that God is faithful. He has never failed, and He never will. One of the most beautiful things about letting go and trusting God is that it allows us to experience His peace, a peace that surpasses all understanding. This peace doesn't come from the absence of problems, but from the presence of God in the midst of them. It's the peace of knowing that no matter what we face, we are not alone. God is with us, guiding us, sustaining us, and giving us the strength to persevere. Trusting God also brings freedom. When we let go of our need to control every detail of our lives, we are freed from the weight of anxiety and fear. We are freed to live fully in the present, to embrace the life God has given us today, and to trust Him with tomorrow. We are freed to dream big, to take risks, and to step into the unknown, knowing that God is with us every step of the way. As we learn to let go and trust God, we begin to see His faithfulness in new and profound ways. We see how He provides for us even in the smallest details. We see how He protects us even when we don't realize it. And we see how He uses even our struggles and failures to shape us into the people He created us to be. God is always at work, weaving our lives into a story of redemption, purpose, and grace. So as we bring this to a close, I urge you to take that step of faith. Let go of the fears, the doubts, and the need to control. Place your trust in the one who loves you with an everlasting love. Surrender your plans to Him and watch how He takes what you release and turns it into something beautiful. Trust Him not just with the big things, but with every detail of your life. Because when you let go and trust God, you'll discover a peace, a joy, and a freedom that can only come from walking hand in hand with Him. And in that trust, you'll find that He is more than enough for every challenge, every question, and every season of your life.